Hello, happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to Everyone Has a Love Story. We are so excited to be talking to our very good friend, Nicole Pitman, who's going to be joining us any second. A little bit about Nicole. Hi, Nicole. She's joining now. I'm going to let her in. We're going to talk about Nicole and her journey. But first of all, Nicole is an incredible, passionate drama teacher. Oh, there she is in all her dramatic glory. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to see you.
And you.
It's been wonderful having these moments to connect with you, to get our ducks in a row for this today. I always love talking to you. But I'm going to do your intro because people don't know you and they're going to want to know you. Hi, Kate. Kate has joined us.
Hi, Kate.
So I was telling everybody that you are an incredible drama teacher. You're a whole health and wellness coach. You're a teacher of yoga and meditation, a writer. What else? An activist. You are a busy gal. So thank you for taking the time to be with us. So if you're new to us, if you're new to this program, Everyone Has a Love Story is really about life's real stories. Our stories just happen to include someone who's died, somebody that we love dearly. And our stories are just like yours. They're funny, they're heartwarming, they're hilarious, and sometimes they're just tragic. And it's a little bit of everything, just like real life. So we introduced Nick, and I want to give you kind of a timeline of what we're working with here. In the last, I want to go back to Love, to your dog Love. So Love died in 2015, right?
October.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I had somebody DM me this morning saying, well, not everybody has had a person who has died, but we've all had loss in one way or another. And we're here to normalize the conversation about loss. And no one is ever going to tell me that your dog Love was not a family member. That pup. So we have Love. And then your gorgeous mom, Sandra, died 5 years ago. And then 2 years ago, your dad, Mel, died. And so you're all of these things. You're a drama teacher, you're an activist, you're a yoga teacher, a meditation teacher, and you're Mel's daughter. And that's the part of you that is so incredibly precious. And I thought about that, and I see you tearing up, and it hits big. Because I look back on, everybody refers to me as, that's Logan's mom. And I love being Logan's mom. But nobody ever refers to me anymore as Jack's mom. And I miss that. And so I'm taking from the expression on your face that hits hard. It's you have the privilege of being Mel's daughter for 50 some odd years. And that's right. I just want to embrace that part of you because I know what a precious daughter you were to him and how much he loved you. So let's start. Let's take a breath, girl. Tell me about being Mel's daughter.
It's complicated, as probably most parent-child relationships are.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and I just feel so incredibly blessed to have had both my parents.
Yeah.
For as long as I did, but also to have gotten to grow my relationships with them in ways that I don't know that all people do.
What does that mean?
So, if we're just talking specifically about my dad, when I was little, my parents had a very traditional relationship in my growing up years, my formative years. Um, we lived in LA, and my dad was in the car business, and the car business in LA is, all hours kind of thing. And so my dad wasn't home a lot.
Yeah.
And when he did come home, it was like, the best thing in the whole world.
Daddy!
Totally, and he was like my prince.
Mm.
My mom was the one who would deal with the discipline in the house and that kind of thing. But my dad was the special guy. And if I did do something that upset him, oh my God. Like my mother, who cares if I upset her? My father was like, oh my God. And then, as you know, when I was in my junior year of high school, my parents split up. And my dad came out 6 months later as a gay man. And so it wasn't so much that he was gay that rocked my world, which it did. It was a big change. It was this duplicitousness that he had felt like he had the choice, probably wouldn't have happened, but it was nonetheless duplicitous. So we struggled for a time, and then we got back together, and cemented a really strong relationship. And then many years later, he was with a man for 14 years who did not like me or my mom, and so that put a big strain in our relationship, and it was very, very difficult and very painful. But after he and Peter, his boyfriend, split up, he and I came back together, and we were both in different places, and we were able to work through so much. And so what shifted so much was seeing my dad as this wasn't my prince anymore.
Right.
He was my papa. He was my wise man. He was my friend. He was my peer. He was my love. We just created this incredible relationship, and he reconciled with my mom in a family level, like we became a family again. And so when my mom was dying, my dad was able to go through that death with me. And so the 3 years I had with him after that were so special and close on a whole different level. And he relied on me so much, where he'd always sort of been the big man, really macho, very macho kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just really became so much more mellow, and having been an agnostic, he became more spiritually centered, and was really taken with the work I was doing.
I bet.
And so I just feel like I got to have just such a multifaceted relationship with my dad.
I want to go back just a moment to the point of when he was on a pedestal, and then he was really brought, you two were equals in so many ways after Peter left your lives. And that transition, what an incredible thing to be able to, just want to acknowledge that, to be able to be in collaboration with a parent. And that's something that I'll always marvel at, and having lost my parents so young, it's just this beautiful thing to think of. We talked about it so often. And I see so many of our friends who have these relationships with their parents where they're growing in life together. And what a gift. And for him to be able to really see you blossom and see you become incredible. Now, were your parents activists?
Yes, no. They were always liberally bent. And yet the English language. And when I was 4.5, we moved to the Valley from the West Side. And my mom reconnected with an old high school friend there who got her involved with the Los Angeles Fair Housing Council, the San Fernando Fair Housing Council. And that's where I think her foundation, if you want to call it activism, which, yeah, I guess she was an activist, began, and where I was introduced to, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley at that time was pretty damn white.
Right.
Gardeners at that time were pretty much Asian. And not that there weren't Hispanic people or Black people or a mix of people, but there just weren't that many. It was white. It was very white. Yeah. And so I feel very blessed and fortunate that I was introduced to so many different people of color.
Right.
Because of the council.
Right.
Because of my mom's work and then pulling my dad into the work. We were fortunate to meet so many different kinds of people. And I feel like I learned to celebrate knowing different people.
Right. You had that expansion inside your family home.
Yeah. And I didn't always understand, like there were so many times in my childhood I wasn't allowed to eat grapes, because we were boycotting for Caesar shots. And I didn't understand that. I was like, what? But the foundation was there. There was something that I knew. My mom took me in 1972. We walked door to door for George McGovern, that kind of a thing. So it was always
as well.
Did you?
Of course we did.
So I don't know. I feel very, I was exposed. I was exposed to a lot. And though I think the council was activism for sure. And my mom did go to marches, and my mom did, we had rallies for Tom Bradley in our backyard. I remember that a couple of times for his mayoral candidacy and stuff.
Okay, this is weird. We've never discussed Tom Bradley. We'll have to.
What's your connection?
My mom worked for him for 8 years.
Really?
Yeah, they campaigned for him, and then she worked for him for 8 years.
That's so funny.
See, what the heck?
Your mom was probably in my backyard.
Probably.
And I'm sorry about my phone. I think I told you, I forgot to plug it in and charge it. So if I'm moving, I'm like, ooh.
We're gonna go with the flow with you.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I just wanted to get clear on the activism thing, because it is such a big part of your life and such a big part of you. And let's go back to your mom died, and that was really hard. And you're in Chicago, and your dad at this point is where?
Palm Springs, California.
Okay. And then
I had moved back here. I was living in Arizona until 2013. And, my mom had, her cancer had reoccurred in 2009. It was very slow moving. But by 2013, it was clear that she was starting to go. So I moved back here to be with her.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
A gift for you both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also brave of you to go to Chicago winters. I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Yeah. So Sandra passes, and your dad's in Palm Springs. And then how long, was it 2 years before your dad was diagnosed?
So, February 2019, after my mom died, my dad had always been beautiful body. I mean, he was a workout man 3 times a week. I mean, up until my dad was 82 when he died, right? I mean, he compared, he'd always look how small my waist is, we wear the same size waist, shut up. He's just a great looking guy, stayed in shape, took care of himself, but he was declining after my mom died, got injuries, arthritis, that kind of thing. And he just hadn't been feeling well, the whole past year. So he came to see me for the week my birthday was February 11th, and he flew into town. So that my birthday was a Monday that year. He flew into town Friday and told me he'd found out on Monday that he had cancer. So he was there. It was that President's Day weekend. We had a long weekend, and he hadn't ever gotten the chance to see Hamilton. And I surprised him. You know, I got us tickets, and I'd seen it a couple of times, but I spent a shitload of money on orchestra seats. But he was beside himself. He was so happy. At intermission, he just looked at me and he just said, "This is the best thing ever." And it just felt like such a gift to see him. He was so full of life. He was so excited. He was so thrilled and so grateful. And he left Tuesday morning, and then 2 weeks later, he was supposed to have this outpatient surgery to determine exactly what kind of cancer it was and what kind of treatment they would need to do. And it was outpatient. And I said, "Are you sure you don't want me to come?" He's like, "Yes, it's supposed to be not a big deal, this and that." And so he had the surgery, but he was in so much pain after the surgery, they kept him in the hospital, and then he developed MRSA. Mm. And I kept trying to get in touch with the doctor, but the doctor wouldn't call me back. My dad was really loopy the whole week. And so that Saturday morning, March 9th, it was about 6:30 in the morning. I was going to go substitute teach a yoga class. And I called to get in touch with the nurse and saying, "I need the doctor to call me." So the nurse said, I promise I'll have the doctor call, but I just came out of your dad's room. Do you want to talk to him?" And I was like, "Yes, of course." Well, my dad was completely lucid. And I said, "Pop, I got to go teach this class. I'll call you when I'm done. I love you." And he goes, "I love you too. Have a great day." So I get out of teaching, and I get to my car, and I see that there's a call from the doctor. I'm like, thank God. So I call back. I'm driving out of the parking lot, and the doctor doesn't say, "Are you with somebody?" Doesn't say, "Are you sitting down?" Nothing. Just says, "I don't know how to tell you this, but your dad died." Mm. So I swear it's the yoga. I swear it was the yoga, because I pulled out of the parking lot. I turned to the right when I was supposed to turn left and just parked the car at the curb. And I asked questions, and then I could feel like my head going, like, I'm not taking this in, right? So I said,
but the yoga brought you.
Yeah, it just brought me. Yeah. I think I was in shock, but I also think I had clarity, where I just took a big breath and I said, "May I call you back? I have many questions, but I can't ask them right now." And he said, "Yeah." So I got off the phone. I called my best friend here. I said, "I'm coming to your house. My dad died. I need help." And she's like, "Are you sure you can drive?" I said, "Yes, I'm sure I can drive." So I drove to her house. I was crying. I was upset, but I was like, I just need to do the next right thing. So I got to her house, and she and her husband, I think they made me some food. We got on the computer. They booked my flight. I said, "I'm going home. I'm going to put some clothes in a suitcase, pick me up, when it's time to go to the airport." And so I was able to do all that. But the beauty was I had all these friends who either knew my dad or know my relationship with my dad, who took me through every step by step. Like, it was almost magical. So I get put on the plane. I had a layover in Phoenix. As I'm going on the plane, my dear friend Debbie from Naropa, where I did my master's, her husband was on the plane coming from Chicago. So I was able to chat with him and sort of get my bearings. I got off the plane. My friends Dana and Miles came and met me at the airport. I had a 3-hour layover, sat with me, put me back on the plane. My best friends from LA met me at the airport in Palm Springs. They were like, "Are you sure you want to go back to your dad's house? Do you want to go stay in a hotel?" I'm like, "No, I need to be at my dad's." We go to my dad's house, where he thought he was coming home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the refrigerator's stocked, his sweatshirt's hanging over the chair. It felt like his presence was there, right? And with my mom, My mom died in a nursing home. She died in palliative care. She didn't have a home. Like, all her things were in storage. And I saw her through her whole death. So I just watched her deteriorate. So my recollection of my dad was this still vibrant,
At Hamilton.
still very much alive, right?
At Hamilton.
And Hamilton, right? And so being in his home and then staying for the next 3 weeks. So my school was amazing. Like, I was supposed to do a show with my kids that week. They're like, just go. We'll postpone the show. We'll take care of your classes. Just go. And then I had 2 weeks of spring break. So I had 3 weeks, which wasn't a lot of time. But the thing about the finite part was I just had to do. And yet I had time to just be. And I don't know if you spent time in Palm Springs, but the whole Coachella Valley, right, is just encircled by mountains. And Coachella means palm of God.
Mm.
So I felt like the whole time I was there, I was just being held in the palm of God. And it was like one thing after another. Just, there was the grief was so laced with beauty, was so laced with laughter, was so laced with love, was so laced with ease. Every day, it had rained so much that year, and usually those mountains are brown. Those mountains were covered with green. Covered with green. Everything that happened. So my cousin, my dad's favorite niece, I don't know if I should have said that. I don't know who's on the call.
Oops.
She came out. She lives in France. She came and stayed with me for 5 days. And the day before she had to go back, my dad's ashes came back. Mm. So we rushed that morning to get to Laguna Beach, where he wanted part of his ashes scattered. I saved part of them for some other places to put them, but we trekked out there to Laguna Beach, and he wanted to be at Moss Point, which I probably shouldn't say either because it's illegal to do what we did. But
you've been busted twice now.
I know, right? Right. So Moss Point is right off Highway 1, and you turn down the street, and it's kind of a little hill, and it goes down to an overlook, right? And it's this little ecological beach. And so we go down the stairs. As we're coming down the street, I said to my cousin, this is where I learned how to swim in the ocean. My dad taught me how to swim in the ocean. When I was 7, he put me on his back, said, hold on. He said, pretend I'm your dolphin and just hold on. We're going to ride the waves, and I'm going to teach you how to body surf.
Oh, my gosh. So
I'm telling her the stories. We go down to the beach. We're waiting for people to leave. We're by ourselves. We put the ashes down, and the tide won't come in. The freaking tide won't come in. It won't touch the ashes. I'm like, Pop, what? Are you having second thoughts? What's going on? So finally, a wave comes and covers the ashes, and out the wave goes, and the ashes are still there. So we're laughing, of course. And
yeah, you got to laugh at it.
Right. And so finally another wave comes, and so he takes some of the ashes, but not all of them. So we're like using our feet. We're kind of like pushing him in. Like, you got to go because we got to get up to LAX. And so we do that, and we go up the stairs, and we're standing on the lookout looking out at the ocean. My cousin just taps me, and she goes, look over there. And we look to the south, and there's a bevy of dolphins jumping through the waves. And it was just like every moment was like that. That's what I mean. Like I couldn't have been more taken care of. I couldn't have been more held. I couldn't have been more connected to my dad through all of that. So, so I just feel so incredibly blessed.
Yeah. Those dolphins came to get him. I mean, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I think the thing that is remarkable about you, well, there's so many things that are remarkable about you, and why people are drawn to you, and why you're just a gifted teacher, is that you see the duality in everything. the incredible grief and how blessed you felt. And that's such a gift for people to hear. And you know, we talk about this all the time in the grief community, but you live it. You really live it. You know, I know you're going through, you know, something with your friend Scott right now, and who is just diagnosed and is going to be going very quickly. And the fact you said something that really touched me when you were talking about the experience with your mom and your dad, especially your dad, that you were able to shift your acceptance and your ability to hold difficult situations with more grace now. Can you talk about that? Something like that to
Yeah.
with you.
It's interesting, you know, I've been in 12-step recovery for 32 years.
Amazing.
Thank you. But just, I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
My journey with mindfulness work really began a little bit earlier, but like where I really stepped into the work and the practice, the consistent practice, was when I went to Naropa, 2008, graduated in 2010, and went back in my 40s. You know, I did grad school in my 40s, and then and I'd always done yoga, dabbled in yoga, but after my mom died, I was like, I need it.
Mm-hmm.
And so 6 months later, I walked into a studio right down the street from me, and it was like I came home. It was like I came home. And that led me to, you know, as I always do, because I have to learn about everything, I took yoga teacher training. And at first, not even to become a yoga teacher, but to just help me to better understand yoga.
Right.
To learn. And my teacher, who I was studying with at the studio, wasn't who I took my training with, but I ended up mentoring with her for a year and a half after that, after my 200-hour.
You are all in with everything.
I go
really
all in. I'm kind of extreme, right? I'm an alcoholic, so I'm kind of extreme. But
you make it work.
I think, but I think what came together for me is between the recovery work, between theater work, which is spiritual anyway,
mm-hmm.
and is all about being present and connected, social justice work, mindfulness, yoga, right? Just all of those things have just really come together. And I think my very favorite word now is and you and I've talked about this, right? Like for the past couple of years, I have been living in the and like coming to understand it through that experience and that practice of equanimity, that practice of holding it all. Like my mom and I, okay, so when the first time I ever went to Europe, my dad's brother had married an English woman, and he worked for Variety, and they transferred him to London because he wanted to live abroad. So when I was 9, we went to England for the first time, and on the way back, they showed a film called Love and Pain and the Whole Damn Thing, which was Timothy Bottoms and Maggie Smith.
Oh my gosh.
And I've gone back to sort of look at that film again, because I don't even know what I remembered as a kid. I just remember the title, and my mother, as you know, my mother's always, when she loves something, she'd be like, oh, right? So she was like, oh, Love and Pain and the Whole Damn Thing. That's it. Yeah.
That sums it up.
And that is it. It's love. It's pain. It's beauty. It's ugly. It's tight. It's open. It's all those things. And what we do, I think, as a culture so horribly, is we try to box things. We try to compartmentalize. We say this is where you can feel this, or if you're feeling this, you can't feel that at the same time, or that idea of holding it all and getting to have that gamut. So for instance, like when I was in Palm Springs after my dad died, and my friends Adam and Joyce and Tara and Matt came out that last full weekend I was there, and I'm finally going through my dad's bathroom, right? Like going through that stuff.
Yeah.
And I pulled his Doppler bag, his travel bag out, and I just lost it. I totally lost it. I just sat on the floor and just sobbed because, and I have it, you know, because my dad has had the same fucking bag for as long as I can remember. And whenever he comes to visit or whenever we've traveled together, that bag sits on top of the toilet. You know, like I know that bag so well. And I just sobbed, and Tara and Joyce just sat on the floor with me, and Adam and Matt just stood in the doorway. Everybody just kind of stood there like, just let her be. Just hold this, right? And then 10 minutes later, Joyce and Tara and I are on the couch, and we are laughing so hard that we're crying with laughter, right? And it was all of that. And that's the beauty of it. And to have friends, to have people in your life who can hold that space for you and be that person that you can hold that space for others, that's the greatest gift. And so that's the work I do now when I teach yoga, when I teach, you know, when I facilitate a meditation in my classroom, dealing with Scott, you know, who a lot of people are really struggling at work. And, you know, I have a lot of alumni parents and students calling me, and just being able to share that. Like, we can have all of it. And just bearing witness, right?
Right.
Bearing witness and that connection.
What is that Ram Dass quote? It's all we're really doing is walking each other home.
That's all we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
And another thing was, when I was at my dad's, I happened to be in the middle of a training for James Baraz, who's one of my Buddhist teachers. He has a book called Awakening Joy, which I had done his class several years before, but I was in training to help to lead and facilitate classes. And the chapter I was in when I got to my dad's was gratitude, which is my touchstone no matter what. But the chapter I moved into while I was at my dad's was finding joy in difficult times. And one of the pieces of the chapter is all about how we struggle with death in our culture because we don't address it, right? Because we use euphemisms, or we have this idea of what grief is supposed to look like. And because we don't talk about the fact that death is part of life, it just is.
And that everyone experiences it. We say things like they've passed on, they've gone to the other side. We, you know, beautify it instead of just saying their bodies died. Because, and that, there's so many reasons why that makes me uncomfortable. But the fact is, the love doesn't die because their bodies have died. And unless we talk about what really has gone, it is the body. It's a relationship we're used to experiencing. But the fact that we can experience a different relationship and hold that love is where the real gifts are. Well, at least that's what's been my experience, is I get to change. I don't have to stay stuck in the place of they're gone. I can move with them and take them with me every step of the way.
Yeah. But I started writing in my journal, like, Pop, you're dead. I miss you. You've been dead this many days. Or it helped me.
Yeah.
It helped me to normalize it.
Right. Right. And we've talked about this. Have you had the he's still dead moment?
Yeah. Like, what? Like, what do you mean you're still dead?
Yeah.
Aren't you supposed to call me? Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And those, it's, you know, half liberating to know that, oh yes, I'm still surviving. I'm still feeling it. I'm still feeling him and them. And they still come, you know, they still come as we keep going. Those moments still come.
You know, when my mom died, a friend of mine in the program gave me he's like, I don't know if this will work for you, but try it on. And he said, you know, if you've ever gone backpacking and you put on the backpack, you know, you're going on like a 5-day trip or whatever it is, but it's super heavy. It's super cumbersome and uncomfortable, and like the metal sticking you in the side, and, you know, you can't adjust your head properly, and you're kind of hunched over, and it just feels burdensome, right? And then as you go along your trip, you finding ways to carry it. It doesn't get lighter.
Yeah.
You just learn how to carry it. And I was like, I will totally take that. I will. That is it.
I'm going to borrow that for sure. How has loss changed you, changed the way you live? Or has it? I mean, you've always been all in such a passionate, just vibration. And that's who you are naturally. That's who I remember you being. And I do want to say, you know, I met you after both my parents had died. And you were the burst of bright love and bubbling energy that I needed. And
well, we both were. Your dad died and my parents split at the same time. That summer,
yeah,
the summer of the purple shorts and cabin 11, that summer was us.
Yeah.
Right? We were crazy.
We were so cute. But I just, you know, I want to say, you were an angel in my life. You still are. I don't know if I would have found joy as quickly as I was able to if it weren't for you. I mean, who would have thunk that you and I could have laughed that summer? We learned this and that all the way back then. We didn't have words for it, you know, but it's been a great journey with you, girl.
Yeah, thanks. You too. I wouldn't have traded it at all.
Hell no. It's a rough road getting here, but I'm glad we're on it together.
Yeah. And I think that you asked about, I think what death has taught me. What have
or
has it changed me?
Changed the way you live your life now?
I don't know that it's changed it all so much in the day. Well, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. Let me, because it has changed me. It has changed me so much, right? Like, so being somebody I've been single, let's see, since, my last boyfriend was, my mom died in February of 2015, and we broke up in the first week in January 2015, so it's been a long time. I need to reopen. I think I've been closed for construction for a while.
Yes, it's time.
You know, I lost the three most, and because I don't have children, right? And I'm an only child. I don't have siblings. You know, losing my dog when she died, when I had to put her down. She was her name was Love. She came to me with that name. She wasn't, as you know, she wasn't a dog. She was a person in a dog costume. And she was the love of my life. I mean, still, when I think of her, and you know this, I just tear up. And the last note my mom wrote me, which she told me I couldn't open until after she died, she talked about me being the best dog mom. She's like, watching you and Love was like, now Love died. I had to put her down in October 9th. And so I still had 4 months left with my mom. And it was a silver lining because I was having to come home from work and walk the dog and sometimes bring her with me to see my mom. But I could just go from work to see my mom every day, you know? I could just fully put my attention there. But then my mom died, right? And then it took me like a good few years to get through that. Emotionally, it was just a really hard time.
Yeah.
I didn't have my bearings. the yoga gave me my bearings, started to give me my bearings. And so when I felt like I had, I don't know, a couple, like a year or so under my belt of feeling like I'm okay, then my dad went.
Right.
And so I think what changed for me is learning to accept that the this and that of, it's not such a heavy burden. I
Wow.
can feel it. I can feel it fully. And I don't have to lash out. I don't have to misplace my feelings. I sit with them more easily. I'm more accepting. I'm more,
it's part of the presence. You're present.
yeah,
You've been
presence
present.
and aging. Like I love my age. I don't know that I love my double chin right now.
I know.
Or menopause weight. I don't think I love that so much, but I'm more accepting of it. I'm more like, you know what? I'm able-bodied. I'm able-minded. I'm fucking amazing. You know, I've got the most incredible friends. I have the most incredible family. I have the most incredible life. You know, and so I think that's helped me all through this pandemic time.
Oh, sure.
Too. And then this is where, you know, and I've talked to you about this before, it's so, you know, when my parents died, I think about, like, this is how I know I'm Jewish. It's, I'm not in hiding. I'm not in a cattle car. I'm not in a concentration camp. Life is pretty damn good. But I do think about things like, I got the opportunity to sit with my mom through her death, right? I got the opportunity to take care of all that stuff with my dad's, where my parents weren't ripped from me. I didn't watch them, you know, be like, I had this, like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't mean to sound morbid and to people out there, probably like, that's how you think about your life as a comparison to a kettle car, you know, but it does have perspective.
Yeah.
Like, this is life, folks. We're in session, and part of that is dying, and part of it is death, and part of it is loss, and part of it is grief, and part of it is that numb part, and just being able to show up and share.
Yeah. And that's what we're doing right now. Now, I do want to just put it out there. If you have not experienced one of Nick's yoga classes or meditation classes, definitely reach out, DM her. It's Nick_Pitman on Instagram. And you've started, because you don't have enough going on, you teach drama full time to these wonderful kids. You teach yoga, meditation, you're a health and wellness coach, and now you've started a new business called Before Breakfast with Nicky. I don't know where you have the energy, but talk to us about that, because I just love this so much. And I know you're in the middle of launching, and but still I want to talk about it because it's beautiful.
So I conceived of the idea several years ago, and just you know, because I'm busy, I just kind of kept putting it off. But I'm launching in the beginning of April, and it's Before Breakfast with Nicky, and the name comes from Through the Looking Glass, when Alice is talking to the White Queen, and she says, well, one can't believe impossible things. And the White Queen says, well, I dare say you haven't had much practice. I've often believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. And so my whole mission is to help people make the seemingly impossible possible. And it's drawing from all of my practices, all of the work I've done. I got certified as a creativity coach, and then a master creativity coach, and I've had my health coaching certification for a while, as well as mindfulness and yoga and the theater work and social justice. And so, like, in creating the business, another piece that's taking so long is I feel very strongly about everything I do connecting to my values, right? It's not something to slap on. So I'm been really trying to research the bank I'm going to use.
Right.
You know, where do they support? And that's hard. That's a really hard one to find, you know, and one that's local, or do I do it online? You know, all that kind of stuff. But also, you know, with my yoga classes, what I do is I take $2 off of every participant, every class time, and I put that away, and I'm always dedicating my work to some organization. So in the fall, it was for the Poor People's Campaign, and then Open Communities here in Evanston, which is a fair housing organization. And then my friend Jan, she has an organization called Open Minds, which is what the money's going to now, that deals with the prison system and has connections in Africa, working with education and mindfulness there. And so I just feel fortunate to connect the work I do with the things that are most important to me. So that's where I come from. And then my business is creativity and whole health coaching. It's classes and workshops. It's, you know, one of the things I launched in, and everything is a play on words, you know, that has to do with restaurants or kitchens or dining and food and that kind of a thing. And
it's always food.
Yeah, it's always food because, right?
Yes.
And so I call it dinner theater, and my first launch was a staged reading of a play called The Welcoming, which dealt with fair housing issues and the lovely euphemisms that white people use for.
And that just brings it all back to your mom as well.
Exactly. I mean, that was the gift too, you know, and I found some of my mom's old stuff from fair housing and things that she'd written and things that are still so pertinent today. Nothing's changed. Everything's changed and nothing's changed. And so that's the gift. It's like full circle.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's the stuff that, you know, why I became a teacher is to just share. It's the program. It's sharing experience, strength, and hope, and joy.
Always
and joy.
Always joy.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a quick round, a rapid fire. So when I'm going to give you 3 words, and tell me what comes up. Your dog love.
My heart.
Mm-hmm. Being a daughter.
A gift.
Being present.
Everything.
Oh, you are magnificent. Thank you. Thank you for being present.
Thank you.
For giving us this gift of you. And we'll see you real soon. Thank you.
I love you, Lizzie. Thank you.
I love you too.